NCAA basketball totals. This is the segment here where we look at totals set by odds makers in NCAA basketball. We try to beat that line either over or under the total. This is Tuesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Let's see if we can go ahead and get, increase our profit in NCAA hoops, which has been going well for the most part this season. And we got two games on the card today that we are going to break down. So let's see how we do. And let's just get right to it. Don't forget we have our NBA Live segment as well. That's going on all this week prior to the All-Star break, and we'll pick that up after the All-Star break. That's been a fantastic segment. It goes off at 4 o'clock Eastern on our Facebook page. Great feedback from you guys on that. I really enjoy doing that. As well, don't forget SBRpicks.com, YouTube channel, Facebook page, like I just mentioned, and of course, Sportsbook Review, where all the odds and totals are there. A lot of great handicappers. Go ahead and check them out, see what they have to say about some game assessment. Let's go ahead. Let's dive into some totals. All right. So the first game we're going to look at here. These are both kind of numbers plays for me, where these two teams have already met up this year, and I'm going against what the odds makers have set in comparison to what we saw in their previous games. We have one over and one under. The first one, we're going to the ACC here with Wake Forest and Clemson. Clemson really picked up the tempo this year. This is a big total set by odds makers, 155.5, and I'm going to go over this total in their first matchup. This season, Clemson beat Wake Forest 73-68, well under 155.5. They both shot decently well. The tempo was okay. Wake Forest did not shoot well from the charity stripe, just at 55%, and they didn't get to the line that much either. So I'm really surprised odds makers came out with this big of a total. There wasn't a ton of turnovers, but when we start to break this game down further, this game actually was on New Year's Eve, the one I just mentioned, 73-68. And surprisingly enough, it's 155.5. And as usual, like I've been saying throughout this season, this is the second time we've seen a total this high. The last time they had one in 2009. So we just have not seen totals like we've seen this year ever in college basketball for the most part. When we look at all the games as a whole, this 155.5, though, this is the biggest total they've had since that 2009. And we look at Wake Forest and Clemson as well. Of course, we have a different dynamic. We had a different head coach, different head coaches we're talking about here when we go back a few years, but they've gone under the total the last 6 times they've matched up. And the last time was a 151.5, and they did go under, like I just mentioned, that 73-68, and they both shot decently well. So I'm really surprised they went under that total, but odds makers have come out making this bigger. A bigger total, and I think there's good reason, though, when we start to break down some things statistically. So the number looks a little bit weird. However, you're looking at a Wake Forest team that averages over 81 points per game. Clemson, not bad, 74.5 points per game, but the tempo is what I like. Wake Forest really likes to get up and down. They're averaging 60 attempts per game. Clemson, they're averaging almost 59 attempts per game. They both allow that sort of tempo. They both can shoot statistically pretty well across the board. Like you got Wake Forest shooting about 47%, yeah. Overall from the floor, Clemson, they're going to be at home for this matchup, so they should be able to put up some points, but they shoot 45%. They've struggled a little bit in the ACC this season, but I like for them to score some points tonight against a Wake Forest team that doesn't really play great defense, and neither does Clemson. So it seems like Clemson, a team I used to rely on in the ACC as being a really good defensive lockdown type of team, they're not really that this year. They're allowing 71 points per game, and opponents are shooting about 45% from the floor, so that's not good numbers there. They have one of the better scorers in the ACC in a Blossom game. Good. They're a good team. They're just in the ACC, which is really tough, which is why their record is not very good. Wake Forest, they're allowing opponents about 76 points per game. So the way oddsmakers have this set up, and along with the way the numbers set up, I like for them to go ahead and get over this total. Clemson, they're on a 3-game losing streak, and they just have not been doing anything in the ACC. They got blown out by Louisville, but they're at home against a Wake Forest team that likes to push some tempo. So I think they're going to be able to put up enough points tonight for us to get over this 155.5. And the next game up, and the last one up, we're just going to do 2 games today. We have Oklahoma versus Texas. Oddsmakers have this line here at 140. And that is shocking considering their last matchup at Texas, 84-83 final, in which Texas won. And when we look at the tempo, it was ridiculous. Oklahoma got up 62 attempts per game. 62 attempts in that game. Texas got up 65 attempts. That's a really quick pace for these two teams when we look at them on the year statistically. They both shot over 43%. They both shot over 30% from distance. Texas shot over 43% from distance. Oklahoma over 31%. the tempo again was really, really fast. I don't think we're going to get that tonight. Now, they did get the line 63 times combined. I don't think we're going to see that either. These are two good defenses here. And again, the last total here, 144.5. They went well over it, no overtime, yet oddsmakers have felt compelled to come out with a 140, which will be the lowest total we've seen in the last three matchups. They did have a 130. This is, of course, different dynamics we had and matchups, all things considering, back in 2015. But this is a pretty low total when we look at Oklahoma and Texas. This 140. It seems a little bit low, but I think they don't score very much. And I don't think the tempo is going to be very fast. Oklahoma's kind of an underrated defense, too, under Lon Kruger. I've never been really high on him, but I like how he's kind of adjusted his coaching over the last few seasons, and he's a little bit more focused on the defensive side and shooting the three, which is kind of the trend nowadays. But this year, their scoring defense is not that great. Statistically, they're not bad. I mean, for example, they're allowing opponents 75 points per game. That's way too much. But they're also allowing opponents to shoot under 43% overall. That's not bad. So interesting dynamics with this Oklahoma team. And part of the issue is they don't defend the perimeter beyond the arc very well, allowing opponents to shoot about 37% from distance. Fortunately for them, they're facing a Texas team that doesn't shoot well from distance. So the number starts to make a little bit more sense as the Longhorns are shooting under 30% from beyond the arc. Then we get back to Texas. Pretty good defensive team. They actually rank 50th in the country in opponent efficiency. And where to get that from Shaka Smart. He's a good defensive coach. They're allowing opponents to shoot just 31.4% from distance, opposite of Oklahoma. That ranks 33rd in the country, and that's Oklahoma as far as their, like I just mentioned about Lon Kruger, that's kind of their forte is to shoot the three, and they are shooting 36%. Tempo-wise, we should see a much slower pace than we saw in that last game. So I'm going to go back under this 140, a little bit of a numbers play as well, as oddsmakers have gone under the last total they set, even though they went over in that matchup, if you get my drift. And that's it. So let's break those down one last time. We got Wake Forest, Clemson over the 155.5. And then we got Texas, Oklahoma under the 140. Those are our two NCAA picks. And I wish you luck on your picks today.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.